Hello, this is William from Visual Components. In this video about physics, I'm going to quickly go over restitution, which is how bouncy objects can be after they collide with one another. To give you a quick example, I have a volunteer here with some blocks over her. Run the simulation, and boom, there they go. Okay, let's get started. Let's keep things simple. I'll go to the eCatalog panel and expand Models by Type. Click Physics. This displays components that are already modeled for physics. I'll add a block collider to the 3D world and a cylinder collider. Let's now move the cylinder on top of the block. I'll go to the Tools group and click Snap, and then snap the cylinder to the top face center here. Let's now use the Move tool and move the cylinder up along the Z-axis. If I run the simulation, you can see the cylinder is not affected by the force of gravity. So to fix this, let's reset. And with the cylinder selected, I'll go to the Component Properties panel and click the Physics Entity tab, and then change the physics type property from kinematic to in physics. Run the simulation, and you can see now gravity is affecting the cylinder, and it dropped down and collided with the block. Let's now take a closer look at how the cylinder collided with the block. So if we reset and run again, there was a little bit of bounce back when the cylinder collided with the block, and that's the restitution. Let's now take a closer look by going to the Modeling tab, and I'll then go to my Component Graph panel, select the Behaviors checkbox, and expand the root node of the cylinder, expand its behaviors, then select its physics entity behavior. And in the Properties panel, we can see there is its restitution properties. So by default, it has a value of 0.1, and this is a coefficient of restitution, so it has a value between 0 and 1. Let's see what happens when restitution is at 0. This will be an inelastic collision, so all the energy that the cylinder collides with the block will be gone when the collision occurs. So let's reset, run the simulation, and you can see this time there was no bounce back. They just collided and they stuck in place. Let's reset and now change restitution to 1. This will be an elastic collision, so there won't be any energy lost, and the speed at which these two objects collide will be their bounce back speed. Run the simulation, and we got a lot of collision there, a lot of bounce back with the cylinder. So the speed at which the cylinder collided with the block, it wasn't lost. It was the same relative speed when it collided before and then after. Let's reset and see what happens when restitution is at 0.5. So this will be about half the speed when they collide. Yep, there we go. And this time we got a little bounce back and the cylinder stayed on top of the block. Let's see what happens when we use a conveyor. Now go back to my Home tab. And let's now go to our eCatalog panel, and I'll take one of these physics conveyors. Drag it into the layout. Let's add another cylinder collider. And let's snap it to be on top of the conveyor, so right about here, anywhere on its face center here of the belt. Let's then use the Move tool and move it up along the Z-axis, and the cylinder probably in most cases won't collide, directly like this perfectly, so let's actually rotate along the X-axis. About 40 degrees is fine. And now if we run the simulation, you can see this still has the kinematic physics type, so let's reset. Go to the Component Properties panel and change the physics type to in physics. Run the simulation, and you can see the cylinder collided with the conveyor. It did a little bounce, and then it moved on. So let's actually see what happens when we have the full restitution here for the cylinder. Go to the Modeling tab, access the properties of its physics entity behavior. And let's change that default from 0.1 to 1. Run the simulation. And we got a big bounce back, and that's probably what we didn't want. And you can notice here there are some friction values coming into play. So let's reset and change the restitution to be 0.3. And that time we get a good bounce, and the cylinder moves on. Now if you want more documentation about restitution, you can find articles online. I'll quickly show you two. Here is the wiki page for coefficient of restitution that talks about, the speed the objects have before the collision and after it, and the coefficient here. You can also go to the NVIDIA Physics article about friction restitution to learn more. Okay, this completes the video. If you have any more questions, please feel free to visit our forum at forum.visualcomponents.com, and I hope you have a wonderful day.